Before we continue, I want to just let you know that here at Off the Deep End Podcast, we do talk about some things that can be extremely triggering for some of the listeners, whether it's domestic violence, suicide prevention, mental health resources, vet resources, veteran stories, active shooters, fitness, and even recovering from addictive substances. There's only one place I go to spread my message of positivity about not just going through things, but growing through them as well. For this, I use Anchor.fm. It allows my listeners to listen on over 7 platforms with a click of a button. Make sure you download Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started sharing your story. Thank you so much for the support, the conversations that I've had with people that reach out to me, and the absolutely overwhelming amount of people sharing the message that we have here to talk through trauma. If you like what we do here at Off the Deep End, please feel free to subscribe and gain special access to subscriber-only episodes, or you can continue to do what all of you great people have been doing, just sharing the episode right after you finish it with the world. So we can share these conversations, not just with people that we know, but even people that I might not know. I love when people reach out to me and we get to have in real time conversations about the things they're going through. I get phone calls, emails, text messages, and a lot of just personal private messages from people who are going through things. And I'm able to share some of the perspective that I learned from others. And slowly we can work towards the end goal of stopping at least one person a day from ending their own life, thinking that they can't talk to other people about their problems. Talking through trauma is the goal here at our program here. And I really do appreciate everybody's endless support and all the different conversations we've had so far. So if you like what we're doing here and you'd love to support us, please do subscribe. All right, all the way from Michigan. Thank you so much for joining me today, bud.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So why don't you start with giving me some of your backstory, like your childhood, your upbringing, your situation with parents and all that.
So I'm the baby of four. I got 3 other siblings. I got an older brother and then 2 older sisters. Parents married throughout, I was grateful to have them both together throughout my, time, and they're still together. I think they're like celebrating close to like 30 years together, roughly.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I usually default back to 25 sometimes. But yeah, so growing up, like, it started off poor because we were originally from Jersey. I'm originally from Jersey, Hudson County, New Jersey. And to give an idea, that's like literally 15 minutes across from New York City, from either by bus, train. Down the road, it became a ferry. So inner city kids, pretty much. Out of the 4, I was the only one that was able to securely go through private school. I graduated from St. Augustine's parochial, and then I graduated from St. Peter's Preparatory. And it's funny, ironically, and I'll dive into this later, but like, haven't went to college, and then I'm 28 now. Parents live down in Georgia. I live in Michigan due to my naval career at the end and everything. Brother lives in Jersey still, but he lives at least outside of where we live at. So like, he kind of moved out, still in the same state, but he moved out at least. Sister number 1, the oldest, she lives actually in Michigan too, but she's like an hour and a half away, so it's not that far, but it's still a drive out there. And then my other sister, she lives out in actually in the city and everything. So and then I got a little one of myself.
Very cool. So you stay in so you would say that your family was pretty close growing up?
Initially, yeah, but as we grew up, we definitely grew apart. And I think there was just primarily just the way it was strict. I mean, like, we had a Latina matriarch household type deal. Whatever mama says was like the law.
Okay.
Dad was very lenient, passive in a way sometimes, but like mom, whatever mom said was what had to be done and everything.
Okay. Is that normal that you've experienced that without the throughout the community?
So yes and no. I have seen other like within my background and growing up, like I have had some of my friends that said that like their relationships with their parents were not as uh strict. Like I'll never forget this. It was Dr. Di Lorenzo, my history teacher from high school, was telling me that I had a father like Patton and a mother like Stalin.
Oh man. Those
And
are
I
some
remember
pretty
because
serious
I was
comparisons.
yeah, because I was so sick. I remember I was like sick as a dog. I had like a fever and I couldn't get an initial ride home. And like my dad was the only one who was driving all of us essentially. And like I didn't have money to catch the bus or the light rail. And my dad, like after I called dad and the nurse was like, hey, we need to like get him home. He has a fever. He's like 100 right now. And he's coughing up phlegm and everything. Like he's sick. He should not even have gone to school. And then my dad was like, yo, can you just try and tough it out so that like I got till I was like, fuck it. How are you gonna tell me to tough it out at 16, 17 years old, bro?
Yeah.
Jesus. And I'm like barely able to like, and it's not like I'm sleeping purposely sleeping in class. My own body's like, bro, you just need to relax. I'm like, stop. Just trying to fight it the entire time.
Okay, so you had relatively strict parents who like this way or no way at all kind of parents.
Yeah. As
Okay.
long as you live in my house, it's my rules.
So they dealt
That's
an absolution. I see.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, yeah, like I don't know. Like, yeah. But then like as I talk to my siblings, there's been times where I guess they eased up eventually at
Mhm.
some point, but like
But that wasn't
what
your
sucked,
initial like when you're living through it. That was your original observation.
yeah, I was in survival mode the entire
Okay.
time with
Oh
my
man,
siblings.
for real?
Yeah. As far as I can remember, as I'm going through like my therapy with my current therapist right now, like there's a lot of like stuff that I had subconsciously dug into my brain in order to like just survive, and like the mannerisms and behaviors that I exhibit now is strongly because of what I had to do in order to survive as the baby of four
Mhm.
with all the expectations on me.
I see. So do you still have a good relationship with your parents, or is it pretty strained?
Oh man. So I guess it's I want to say it's like 50-50. It could be better. It is getting better. I it's really all on me. When I left for the Navy at 19, this is back in 2013, that was like my getaway. And it was a really ideally it was me getting away from mom. Mom was really like my main issue. I guess you can say I have a mom wound, right? Right.
Well, you know what?
Uh
Honestly, man, everybody has obviously different reasons for joining the military. I would say, from my experience so far, about 85%, relatively speaking. And I'm talking about like I've asked everybody I served with why they went to the military, and it's
yeah.
usually because I wanted to break something like a generational trauma from my parents, and I
Yeah.
don't want my kids to feel that same way.
Yeah.
Do you so obviously you through your therapy and through just living life and growing up and experiencing other life other than being at home, you've
Mhm.
experienced parents that are strict. And did any of your other sailors you served with have the same kind of situation going on?
A little bit. The A few of my other sailors that and some of my buddies, I wouldn't say necessarily strict. Like it'd be like another thing of like 50-50 too.
Mm-hmm.
Some would be saying that they were strict, others say that they were relaxed, others would be like, man, like it's been so long since I've been in my parents' crib. I'm like, all right, dude, like um yeah, like I can't really pinpoint too much with with my guys that I served with. I know when I went through basic for the army right now, it's a completely different generation. I'll tell you that.
Hmm.
They they
They don't
they
really
are
understand what strict parents can be
they don't know. No, they don't understand what strict parents is. If anything, some of them were very coddled by their parents.
with
So like,
with the helicopter parent style is what I usually is. And like I know some parents can be pretty extreme. So on one side you have the helicopter parent who's always over your shoulder. Why?
mhm.
Wait a second. I don't want you to get a cut. Get on down. Don't get dirt on your knees or anything like that. And not to blanket statement and say that parents are weak for that. This is just
Yeah.
what I've observed in one extreme form. And then you have on another side of the scale, you have the parent that's like, oh, do whatever. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay. I don't enjoy the 10-mile walk to school. You'll be fine. You'll be safe. You don't need a cell phone to call me. I don't need to make sure you're okay. Just completely hands
Yeah, yeah,
off.
yeah.
And that hands off spectrum is usually tied into abuse or certain things like that. I noticed that you talked about your mother being the matriarch and your father being somewhat passive aggressive
Yeah.
or sorry, not passive aggressive, but passive in that relationship. Is it normal with people with your background, your ethnical background, to have experienced similar things, or does it
No, at
vary?
least I I can't say if it is normal or not. I
Okay.
know like the definition, right? Like growing up of like being a man for the family and masculinity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Was like you work hard, provide for the family, make sure they have a food over their head. I mean, wow, wow. Yeah. You have a roof over their head,
Mm-hmm.
food on the plate, a place to sit, a place to sleep, shower, and clothe. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you have all the necessities, if you even got the extra dough, send them to private school and have them get that private education and just like a okay. Um, and yeah, and like dad did work a lot, uh, but like it was mainly mom being the disciplinarian and everything, and she handled majority of the finances. So dad made the money essentially, mom made money too, but like she handled everything for the most part. She handled everything at home, I should say that.
Okay, so she was kind of responsible for the nurturing of the children, the disciplining of the children,
Yeah.
guiding them to understand what good and bad is. And I know for me, it was definitely difficult growing up having an improper balance. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who does the nurturing and who does the disciplining, but it is achievable for each parent to do some disciplining and some nurturing, and that is an even keel that some parents are able to work out. But that's
Mm-hmm.
comes down to how you are in a relationship with your partner, though, because you're raising the next generation, and it
Yeah.
doesn't always end up with a healthy balance, and it can sometimes result in a whole lot of discipline and not a lot of
Yeah.
nurturing, and that causes significant issues in the self confidence, the self love, the love in general, how you have relationships with other human beings. Because when you're a child, all you know is to mirror what your parents teach you or
Mm-hmm.
rebel and revolt. But usually what I've noticed is that there's a lot of people that like to follow that image. And that's where racism stems from. That's when a lot of time that's when great hearted people who want to do more for you than you even want to do for yourself, like really kind community servants, can come from as well. um,
Yeah.
so you seeing this strict upbringing with your mother and with your father who's working, uh did you could you say that you have a healthy relationship with love?
Uh, no, actually. So, and I think it mainly just stems from uh like my initial upbringing and that mom wound. Mom
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that like nurture love that I needed as a that you would need, that anybody would need as a child. And
Yes.
I'm not saying that like she did a horrible job raising any of her kids. She did what she could with what she
Mhm.
had, you know?
Yeah,
Like
there's no book on it. Yeah, there's no book, there's no
yeah,
standard, and that's why I ask these questions, man. It's not to just so everybody and all the listeners know as well, it's not to set a bar, because I
Yeah,
hate
yeah,
society's bars. I hate society's standards. I think it's
yeah,
ridiculous that we're all meant to meet this role model father figure who's supposed to work, and the mom is supposed to love and nurture the kids, and the dad was the discipline when he gets home, and you wait till your dad gets home. I think that's all garbage and nonsense. Everybody can achieve their own level of greatness based off of what they see within themselves. And so
yeah.
that so you ultimately ended up leaving for the military, which is a huge thing. And uh, I honestly thank you for your service. Every single person who signs up for the military to make sure that our neighbors, me and everybody else in the world, isn't drafted or conscripted into the military like happens in other countries, is
Yeah.
is a hero regardless of what they did. I know people that move boxes and they're really down upon themselves, and all they did that was that for their whole career, and all 4 years, and they didn't try to achieve any greatness or move, change jobs. They were just sad because they found out that that's what their current career is. And I don't
Hmm.
look at no one should look down on them. They should not feel bad about themselves. You still signed up so that my little sister didn't have to get drafted, or my little brother didn't have to get drafted, or
Yeah.
this and that and the third, right? So thank you for your service, man.
Thank you,
What
man.
was your initial military experience like, your first time going to boot camp and all that?
So that was February of 2013.
Everybody remembers the date, man.
February 6th on the date, February 6th, 2013. Um, I was 19 years old, fresh out of a semester of community college. Uh, and it was a wild one, man. Like it was cold, I'll tell you that. Um,
Yeah, Chicago's cold.
yeah, man, that shit. Well, can I cuss? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, man,
Oh
tear
no,
it up.
okay,
Yeah.
shit.
Just don't
Yeah,
say don't say that song from the one that goes mother motherfuck fuck.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
don't
no,
just
no, no,
skip
no.
that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was cold as shit, man. Like it was cold to the point where I remember I had to get issued a new scarf because in the middle of the training cycle, um I got taught how to swim thanks to the Navy. But it was like my third attempt, and it was gonna be like my make or break before I got
As mode.
asthma back
Yeah.
to a different yeah.
Get kicked,
Before I
you
got
lose your whole
asthma
division, you
back.
get kicked back because you can't swim. It happens to a lot of people.
It does. It does. I
Yeah.
remember too. So side note, there was this one dude. I don't even know why he joined. He was a straight up bodybuilder. I mean, chiseled figure. And like he did everything right, but he literally could not float for to save his life.
Muscle does
But he
not
could swim. He
float
swam and cut through the water like no excessive
like a
splashing,
shark.
just straight fast as fuck. But this dude on treading water just could not
Mm-mm.
tread water.
You
He
can't do
ended
it.
up graduating. He was in part of the same graduation class. He ended up graduating. So like, I wonder if because I left once I got to go. I didn't. I knew he was still trying. So I was like,
Mhm.
oof, bro, all right, man. Like, good luck.
Hey man, I have a lot of friends who are instructors in the Navy right now, and they're at the recruit training command RTC over there in Great Lakes,
Yo,
and they will push people through if they're like really out there. It's like one fluke. That doesn't mean you can't be a great sailor. No.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, is it really that serious? Yes, it is that serious to make sure you meet all the training requirements, but a lot of training requirements are just repetitive, and they're just passed through by some person who just pushes paper. So
yeah.
uh I, like, hey, and maybe the Navy isn't right for you if you can't swim. There's other branches.
Those are the
There's
branches.
Space
Well,
Force.
hey,
Swim
that's
in
what I thought
swim
about
in
the army.
space.
That's what I thought about the army, but I'll go about that in a little bit also.
Okay,
But
man. So
so
you're in boot camp. It's cold as shit. What are the things you remember the most about boot camp? If I've never heard about boot camp, what would you tell me?
um, so you'll have if so. First thing would be like if you're asking me like like what do I expect, like what can I expect in boot camp? Well, when are you going? Well, I'm going this date. Okay. Well, you got a special operations contract? No. Okay. Well, there goes your luxury for that. Do you? So you'll have one or two choices. and it usually just depends on, I don't know, dude. I'll never forget. Fucking what was her name? What was her fucking name? Petty Officer Dominguez, maybe. Maybe I can't remember. I can't fucking remember really. That's too far back. But anyways, I remember there was a petty officer, first class, as we were getting processed in and everything through the doors, and we rated the piss test or whatever. And she was like, it was like two of the guys that she already pulled off, and it was like by random, but I think it was generally by, if you looked a certain way and you looked fit, you had a decent ASVAB score. Um, they pulled you off to the side, and they asked like, "Hey, can you do, what was the requirement? Like, can you do 75 push-ups in 2 minutes? Can you do 85 sit-ups within 2 minutes? Can you run a mile and a half in what, 10?
10,
Can
I
you
think.
swim?"
Yep.
And they ask you all these things. They're like, and if you say yes, right? If you and you really don't know, because I mean, I know I trained up for it, but and even then I still fucked up this one. But anyways, yeah. So like, you answer yes to all four of those questions because you're like, fuck it, I'm just say yes because like you should say yes. You should say yes and just test yourself. Fuck it. If you fuck up, you fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, all right, perfect. You go over here. If you get pulled off to the side like that, you're into what's called the 900 divisions, which are your staff divisions. They're like the accelerated program, but you're not accelerated like your special operations. Um, and then if you don't get into the 900 divisions, then you go into Gen Pop, which is like 700 and below. But the
Yes.
900 divisions where I was at, right, was we PT'd, and our scores at the end of graduation was resembling just like almost close to the 800 divisions, which your 800s were your special operations guys, your SEALs, your SWICs, your EOD, all that stuff.
The short shorts, the
Yeah,
badasses.
yeah, Mr. High Speeds. But yeah, so like your 900 divisions, right? My boot camp experience was accelerated. It was very fast paced. We got through a lot of the events and evolutions quicker than the rest of the normal general populated divisions, really, because our main focus was the honor guard, uh the recruit leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your RPOC, AROC, and Master at Arms. And then you had your guys up in the stands directing people as they're coming in to sit where they're supposed to sit according to
Yes.
their, where they, yeah. So nine on my unit, division 922, damn. um a lot of it, like the last, I want to say last month roughly, was, I could be wrong, but the last month roughly of boot
It was all
camp
just
was
drill work. Yeah.
drill, DNC, 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 DNC. I mean, we did about like 5 graduations, 4 or 5 graduations before I came to our graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like, yeah, like for anybody trying to go in and like this, I mean, we're talking like 10 years ago, right? But I would still say if they're still doing like your 900 divisions, Gen Pop and Spec Op, like if you don't have Spec Op, try to get to the 900 divisions because that's where you're going to really advance through. It's going to at least help you in terms of getting your getting that work ethic and that mentality to be driven essentially, because that's what my RDCs were doing us, because they knew that they told us off rip what we were doing, and so they said if you fail at any one of these events, we're gonna fucking asthma you out. We'll get you the
Yeah.
fuck out. We got schedules to um and
So
yeah,
they say they basically set you apart from everybody else and want you to be
pretty
better than
much.
them. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you get a little toast a little piece of advancement into a like a lower ranking system of these standards. Very cool.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was in G pop because they didn't even ask me any of this. They didn't ask me any of these questions because I could swim great. I could swim great. I could swim really great. I could run really good. I was smoking most of the scores in my division, uh, and I never got winded when I was doing any running. So and we ran a lot because we had some people who were
Struggle
completely
busted.
completely physically debilitated, and they were not ready. I don't know how they got past the MEPS. I didn't know how they got past MEPS to even get into the military, because these
Yeah.
people's they were not prepared at all. They came to, and it's really a disservice to not just the training petty officers and chiefs, but
Hmm.
also the people around you, to see, hey, um, this recruiter doesn't give a shit. They put you in unprepared, that you're just a number to them, and it really shows that type of recruiter that you got. My recruiters were great, and I'm thankful for them every day. They
Yeah.
were relatively honest with the information they knew, and
Yep.
there's only a little bit of confusion about it, but ultimately they did a great job getting me in. And when I was done with the I think one of the most memorable things from the military, with the Navy boot camp, is just shut the fuck up and do what you're told. It's that simple. Just shut up and do what you're told. When you're done, then you're free. You're free. Just do your job and leave. It's not that hard. You don't have to sit there, and you don't need to know why everything happens. All you need to do is understand that if somebody, you have to trust other people, and you have to
Yeah.
listen to what they say. And if you don't trust this person, you're going to ask those questions. Why? When I was in a leadership position in the Navy, when I graduated and got some more accolades to my name, people started trusting me more, because I would display my skills that I've rehearsed
Hmm.
relatively easily, with ease, because I listened to people that were smarter than me. It doesn't take a lot. You just got to check your ego and be willing to learn. And
Yeah.
thankfully I did uh, apply just that to it, because being a student in life doesn't mean you know everything. I don't know
Yeah.
everything. That's why I started doing this podcast, because I have a bunch of different series coming up about me just learning about stuff. This is about me learning about stuff right here. I had no idea that there were mothers out there that were that strict, that it would cause and sow seeds of dissent in their children. I had no idea that it could cause issues later down the road. But I
Yeah.
do know that for me, having father issues can cause issue down the road. And I share that as open and honestly as possible, man.
Yeah.
We all have different paths. So
Absolutely.
what was your first duty station after you left boot camp and you got your A school? What was your job in the Navy? And was your A school anything like what you touched in the fleet at all?
So, all right. So I was a machinist mate, conventional.
Okay, not
So
the nukes.
no, 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 no.
Okay, because I
And
was about to shut this thing off, man.
I I got screwed. I got screwed in a way. Because um, well, not really, because like that last year of my contract, they were finally paying all the conventional machinist mates an extra 150 a check, um because we like made an effort to basically say, if we're standing and understanding in a nutshell naval nuclear propulsion systems, right?
Pay us
And
pay us our keep, our share.
you're gonna pay, you gotta pay us something, right? Because
Yeah.
you're having us, for us to like understand, like to what we learned in A school, which is just a basic, boiler, uh boiler lights up, you get your temperature, you get your water, you get your feed in. Feed is flashed into steam. Steam runs through the system. After it's pushed out through the system, it goes through some chill water, passes through a heat exchanger, gets condensed at a lower temperature. That then turns from steam to condensate. The condensate then gets drained and then repeats the cycle. Condensate turns to feed. Feed goes into
Mm-hmm.
feed generation, condensation, feed generation. Yeah,
Yes, and
I'm
it's a
messing up.
never ending loop. It's a never ending loop,
Yeah,
and that's what I
yeah.
learned when I was learning about the MM rate. That I learned exactly that, and it was really cool. I can't name it off as just as good as you, man. But honestly, were you working in with the engineer officer of the watch, or did you spend a lot of time with like in the fleet with the nukes?
Okay. So yeah, so A school was Great Lakes, and I felt like it was like a college experience kind of. But I was 19, so I really couldn't really. I was 19. I would say like not knowing what to do,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, 19 years old, still on base, kind of scared. Ooh, big Navy. But got out to the fleet. Um, wasn't really working too much with the E double O. it was more of I forgot what it was.
Was just the emergency backup diesel generators?
No, those were your engine men,
Okay,
which
so the
those
ENs.
guys during my time were pretty cool buddies. And so so I just had a regular engineer officer, and because like you had DC Central,
Mhm.
right, where your EI was in there, and then you have like your water control watch there.
Okay.
I didn't get to qualify to water control watch, and it was close to the end of my career, so and I was getting forced out. So I was just like, fuck it. I'm not really bothering it. Same thing with my air qual. I just started saying fuck it because I was getting forced out. I couldn't get billets for it.
Mhm.
So I stood upper level port starboard, lower level port starboard. I did shaft galley to keep proficiency. I did auxiliary operator as a proficiency, which is like a oversized heat exchanger basically, but it's like a really boiler, quote unquote. Um, but I was in the main engine rooms for the most part. My shop was primarily the shaft galleys. So on the George Washington, which she was stationed in Yokosuka Naval Base. So that was my first. She was my first and only command, but I was stationed in Yokosuka Naval Base for the 2.5 years uh, before it was time for her to go for overhaul. Um, and that was like the defining, I guess, the beginning of what would be. It would be like the beginning of like who I would who I will become later on and where I am right now.
Mhm.
Because that was free range, foreign country, all the little sneaky things that I knew to like not get in trouble with mom. I don't have to do as much, right?
Mhm.
Because you're gonna have your LPO or your chief still looking at you, making sure you're not getting into trouble and everything. But like that was amazing, and I still to this day I would still love to go back to Japan. Like it was just so different, simpler, better, happier times. um and compared to like when I went out to the fleet, like just know to any service member that is going through basic, going through AIT or A school, whatever, like just hold out. I know it is bullshit. Everything is bullshit in a training command.
Yeah,
Everything is bullshit.
it's all
And you get
fabrication,
out
illusion, and optics.
when you get to your unit, it's so much better. Just make it to your unit and then take that for its value. Take the years and experience there, and then make the judgment of like, all right, the army's not for me. I hear too many people saying and already condemning the military based off of their initial training experience, and like I get it, but at the same time, like
That has nothing to do with shit. Like the
yeah,
training is nothing. Like that's a whole separate world. I remember in boot camp at A school, they have you address people as petty officers. They don't have you do that in the military, and that might be because of lack of a military bearing or whatever. But
yeah,
when you're out in the military, these walls that separate us, this rank that separates us so strongly in boot camp and in A school, it doesn't do that at all. Because guess what? You're probably like it's different for the deck department because once you're a BM3, you're separate. You are immediately thrown into leadership that first classes and chiefs usually do. But yeah, and I'll tell you more about that pretty shortly. But they don't do any of that stuff. They don't care. Like, oh, you're an E4, so guess what? You still have to chip paint and paint and do E1 E3 stuff. Absolutely not. When you're a BM3, you're expected to not doing that. You're expected to take the job from the person above you. And if you don't, you're considered a shit bag. So you have
yeah.
to you have to do every single qualification possible. You have to go to coxswain school and drive the fast boat for man overboard. You have to take every firefighter skill that you can apply. And I
Mhm.
love doing everyone hated hated general quarters. I thought it was cool. I love to do anything firefighting related, anything that has to do with learning a job that's not mine. I enjoyed. I was completely just obsessed and enthralled around this idea of, man, I get to do something that's not my job on top of already doing my job. Great, let's do it. Yeah, firefighting. You want me to go stop a fire? Easy day. I've stopped 3 fires on different ships, and that was fun. But and that was just me being alone, just being paying attention. I stopped a gas event from killing my berthing full of my friends and people I was stationed with when we were in the yard still, because gas leaked all over my berthing and everyone was passing out. I've done like all you got to do all these crazy things, but these boundaries that separate us don't exist. And you know what? Like at the end of the day, the only boundary that separates, the enlisted people, like as far as levels go, is usually once you're put in an occupational role, right? So
Mhm.
So as far as leading petty officer, LPO or ALPO, we don't care who the ALPO is. It's the LPO, okay? And then, but you always have the appointed leaders and the real leaders, and that's what really
Yeah.
I do honestly believe separates us, man. Because how many times have you seen the person who made rank and they're just horrible to other
Yeah.
people? They're rude to other people. They think less of them,
Yeah.
and that like folds down, because at a point in my life in the military, I was striving to be like this person who puts other people down, and now I'm a douchebag, and no one
No,
no one wants to no one wants to deal with douchebags. We want to deal with nice people who get the shit done, and the best thing to do is lead by your example. So that's what I was able to experience. Like the biggest thing I learned from my military leadership is shut up, do what you're told, applies to everybody else. They should know that. You don't have to tell them that. They should already know that. And if they don't know that, you can educate them. But another great thing to do is, instead of just educate them to shut up and do what they're told, you can inspire them to do great things themselves. And
Mhm.
we can do that same thing as parents as well. If any parents
Yep.
listen to this, you are a leader. It doesn't matter what your job is. As a parent, you're a leader. Mother, father,
Yep.
and some sisters are and brothers are leaders. I'm a leader. My wife is a leader to our little brother of hers.
Yep.
Like we have these things that we have to step into, and you don't get to choose always. Oh man, I can't wait to be a dad when I'm not ready. And you're never ready. You're never ready to be a parent. All you do is keep
Yeah.
trying to be better. And if you have that same mentality when you go to the military, you're gonna do fine. Just try to be better. Just shut up and do what you're told. Ask questions after. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of downtime. Hey, why did they tension this high line between two ships? And why did they not slow down the rig when it slammed into our king post on an unwrapped station, causing all the pallets to explode everywhere, and everyone's mail to go flying? Or why are apples dropping on out of the sky right now? Oh, probably because someone didn't do their fucking job right.
Yeah.
There, there's so many different things, man. But yeah, dude, there's so many differences.
Since so like in the reactor world, on the propulsion side, it's like kind of like the same thing, right?
Mhm.
Like you would have, you know, MM1s, MM2s coming out of like naval nuclear school or
Oh
power school
no,
prototype. They ain't got their surface or
they're
whatever, but
book
they've
smart. They
already
don't
been
know
in.
anything.
I've been in for this amount of time, and it might be due to a lack of military bearing, like you said, but it's like when we were in the plant, it's knowledge. It's whoever is your senior watch station. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily a third class or whatever. Like, no, a third class could easily be chief machinery operator, which within the machine room, that was top dog within the machine room. Now, granted, he had his own bosses, but like he was in charge of that entire team, including any under instructs. And we had under instructs that were, I know I've had a couple that were E5, E6, E7, a couple of officers. And if they did not know what they were doing, because I would ask them, like, hey, do you know how much do you know so far? And it yeah, and like the first classes, I had a couple of chiefs, a couple officers. Like if they simply just, and regardless if there was like their next command, if there's something like that, they were just re-qualifying just so that they can get, watch supervisor or whatever. Like, but like, regardless, like, look, I don't care how cool we are, right? Like, cool, quote unquote. If you don't know what you're doing, right? Like, because the situation is, God forbid, I collapse, right? We're in a very heat stress induced environment where we are required to not only, lift per job description, lift 50 pounds or greater for extended periods of time. You have your big valves, which you got to put some muscle behind it to open them, boys. You got a couple valves that were just, regardless of how much maintenance you did, a lot of physically strenuous activities done in, 100 degrees plus.
Yeah. How
Like,
hot do you have like a thermometer down there? Because I know in our office at one point it was 160 degrees. 160. 160.
so
I could almost shit myself when I seen that temperature, that thermometer, man.
they they take the temperatures. Get this, they take the temperatures, the thermometers, and they put them in front of the vents because that's where it's supposed to be hanging out at. Standing watch, right? On the flip side of that too is a double-edged sword. You're supposed to be patrolling your watch station, cleaning up oil, making sure it's clean, putting stuff away, and all that stuff. And it's like, all right, so you want me for like what, every 5 minutes to do it? 10 minutes, but I'll do it every 5 minutes, right? I'll just walk around, just check everything every 10 minutes, whatever. And then you come down, and you're like, why are you sitting on the handlebars? I'm cooling off before I have to like walk again. Go walk now. What the, like, yo, it's just because it
Yeah,
says,
that's toxic
just
leadership, man.
don't just because it says 100 in the thermometer right now does not make it seem any less hotter. That the moment I get out of this vent and I just feel like, dude, it would be so hot just opening up those doors going down to the plant. Like, I've described it as like you literally felt as if there were hands grabbing you.
Mm. Mm.
And
A
like,
lot
I
of people,
can,
have never experienced this heat. I spent a lot of time going down to the machine rooms because, and the shaft alleys and stuff like that. One, I wasn't supposed to be like anywhere like near that stuff, right? In the TLD spaces or whatever, right? I did
yup.
whatever I wanted. I didn't listen to that at all. I definitely spent a lot of time walking around in these spaces, right, where you need to have this certification or whatever. I was spending time in machine rooms. I was going to a different spot, walking around. I was interested. I was like, you're gonna give me an ESWAS pin and lurch surface warfare specialist and not have me actually know this shit. I wanted to see. I want to know where the ammo is. So guess what? I got to hang out with the GMs and shadow them and do a lot of learning experiences with
Yeah.
different rates. I wanted to know what the MMs did. I want to know what the LSs did. I wanted to know why my flight deck boots didn't show up because I'm pissed. I wanted to know all these things, and it was such a overwhelming and great, beautiful experience to see other people
Yep.
light up when you actually want to know what they do. And
Mm-hmm.
the morale is important. If you have a bad morale on a ship, bad things happen, man. Suicide, violence, depression, shitty job doing, can't
Yep.
focus, lack of sleep. Some
Yep.
people had like, I call it cabin fever. They went completely stir crazy. And actually, we had a couple cases of insanity happen while we were deployed. One of which was an extremely violent situation, and then another instance, I walked into the left side. It was on the first deck, or sorry, the
Mm-hmm.
second deck, and then I was walking up on the port side of the ship, right near the berthings where the MMMs and everyone was sleeping. And on the George Washington was the same spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you walk the left side and you're about to hit the officers valley where all the different people's quarters are, the exos sleeping quarters and all that stuff is the office down there. And
Yeah.
I almost like didn't step in because at the time I didn't know if I should have or not, because I don't trust a lot of people who do things with guns occupationally. I don't trust them. There was two security guards trying to fight and pull a guy off of who was strangling this young lady, and it was one of our sailors strangling another sailor. I don't know why. I don't care why.
Fucking God.
And these guys were not getting the job done. I don't know if they just didn't lift weights or what. If you're in the military, lift weights, but they were trying to get this person off this, and he was deranged, screaming, "I'm gonna fucking kill you, bitch." I don't like people trying to harm other people for no reason. So
Yeah.
and she was just trying to breathe, and her face was turning all sorts of colors. It was nighttime, but you could see in the red light the life starting to leave her.
Oh my
I ran up
God.
I ran up and kicked the dude in the face, in the jaw, because a lot of people don't know the jaw is the button. You just hit them right on their button. They might go to sleep. You never know. Roll the dice. Try harder. So I kicked with my steel toe boots. I just sent him across the jaw, knocked him out. He released her. Thankfully, she was still breathing. And one of the guys took her to medical after I helped this guy cuff the other person. And it's
Yeah.
small things like that. Being aware of your sailors' conditions around you, know
Yeah.
whose families are going through tough times. I have had to tell people their family members have been shot, and unfortunately, I had to tell them also, some people, that, hey, you can't go home because they're not on your emergency list. I'm sorry, they're
Yeah.
not your immediate family member. It's so, and it hurts to do. There's a lot of
It
crises.
sucks.
I suffered
Fucking
a
sucks.
couple crises back home where I couldn't head home, and it eats you alive. There's no way around it. Being in the military and having an issue back home is the worst thing. Doesn't mean we don't need to know, but it is a crippling feeling to be completely helpless, thousands of miles away from your family, depending on
Yeah.
what you're doing
Yeah.
occupationally. Have you ever experienced anything like that, like when you were deployed?
So yeah, like a couple times. Far too many, really. But like happens, I guess, when you're in the military in general. But uh one of my high school buddies found out that a couple of them actually found out that they committed suicide, and before family found out, it was obviously just within the friend groups. We would find out first, and we're like, oh fuck, like what the fuck. And obviously, like you said, they're not on our emergency list or anything, so there's nothing we can do other than just watch the
Heartbreak.
memorials on the Facebook memorials being posted one after the other, and you can't even go to the funeral, right? And it's just it sucks. Yeah, like I know my best friend, like one of the ones that hit me hard was my best friend, like my ride or die homie. His grandparents were basically like my grandparents. I didn't grow up with my grandparents, unfortunately. Um, they were either in a different country still and or different state, way too far. There was bad blood between my parents and all that shit. But like my buddies' grandparents took me in as their own, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Abuelo passed, remember him, hitting me up on Facebook. I got that internet time, and he's like, "Hey, so I just want to give you a heads up, like, Grandpa died." And I was just like, "Wait, what?" And then like it was like probably like 3, 4 days later, man. You know, Grandma ended up passing too. I was like, "Fuck!" And I can't go to the fucking funerals because one, they're not blood, but like two, I grew up, with them basically through like the more pivotal moments of my high school, and just sucks.
Absolutely. Hardships hit the military differently because you're supposed to, like, a lot of people call the military like a very prestigious thing to do, which it is. And there's a lot of ups and downs to it. I think the biggest down to the military is not being able to be there for people that need you back home. And
Yeah.
a lot of I spent some time in the military with people who signed up when they were homeless. They didn't even have a home,
Mm-hmm.
and their recruiter helped them get through the process and all that. But having a home and having people that reside there can be a mind controlling burden at the wrong time. And
Yeah.
other times it could be the reason you power through and come home. For my
Yeah.
stepdad, that was a big
Absolutely.
thing for him because he was over in the Middle East, boots on ground type stuff. And he told me just the other day that the number one thing powering him through coming home was the idea of being able to see his son and his daughter and his wife again at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now him and my mom are divorced, but hearing that, it always
it like brought authenticity
Yeah.
to that yearning to come home and yearning to be there at the same time.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends have experienced the why am I not with my boys overseas, and why am I back home?
Yeah.
They don't understand the big mix up that taking leave or transitioning out of the military has. Before I talk about transitioning out of the military with you,
Hmm.
what are there any significant great things you want to talk on as far as memories and or lessons? I would say probably on the lesson side. What lessons would you give and share that you've learned?
Um, do if you depending on, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like, so this one is a little bit more Navy specific, but like do study. Like I'm gonna say that do study. Be be the one to like try to be driven as much as you can. And I get, toxic leadership, is what kind of forced me out of the Navy as well. Like with all you new chiefs, once again, congratulations on being selected for chief. A couple of my people that were in around my time, like I hope you guys remember where you guys came from, and you guys are literally going to end up making the difference. When you guys get up to the higher up positions where you can start making policies and changes, like please, this would be our time for us to reshape the Navy to where we need it to be. But if when you to anybody that's going to be reporting to their unit and or shop, and you get to your team or whatever, um make sure you look good. First impressions last. Take of it like as a job interview. They want to be able to know that you're not a shit bag, that you're on top of your shit, you're squared away, and then attach yourself to the person who is considered hot shit. And I don't care if they think that they don't want you around, you're too annoying. Nah, guess what? You're the dude that got his service
His ducks
warfare
in a
within.
row. Yeah.
Yeah, you're the dude that got his service warfare within a month. All right, so I'm following you, and your
Mhm.
senior in rank. All right, I'm following you. I'm sticking with you. I don't care. Um, for those look that do end up getting out of the Navy, had a couple of buddies do this also. The Blue to Green program is still alive and well. Do not let them lie to you. The Army, even though I'm in National Guard, everyone can talk shit all they want. However,
I know National Guardsmen and Guardswomen that have more bodies than the people in the Army.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a great thing, but hey, doesn't mean that they do things that
hey,
are
yeah.
less serious.
Um,
100%. And
I've
how
had
many?
more.
There's a lot of Army movies, but The Hills Have Eyes. That's the reason I didn't join the National Guard.
uh, that's a good movie though. But uh, like even though I went through 6 months of infantry OSIT, one stop unit training, and drill sergeants that I've had there, like I've had more mentorship, leadership, and actual career advice on how to advance, where to advance, how to begin steps 1, 2, and 3 for option A, B, and C. Never had that in my entire 4 years of my naval career. But in my training, my initial training into the Army, into an infantry unit, essentially, to be an infantryman, and I had drill sergeants. And I'm grateful for it because, the Army has this program called prior service. Um, and like you do get awarded certain privileges, and it's usually based off of like battalion commander and all that stuff. But like for my experience going through infantry OSIT, like grateful for the drill sergeants that were able to actually like kind of reinstill that faith that I had within the military. Now, granted, the military is still, you're still gonna have your bad apples, but
Mhm.
from my
Absolutely.
current experience, which I'm hoping it will continue on right now, like the Army takes that NCO, like once you hit sergeant, they really take that whole NCO role very seriously. And you need to be that mentor and that leader for your soldiers.
Badass, man. I'm happy that you have having that experience. For me, leaderships in the military was kind of difficult for me, seeing other people.
Yep.
We get thrown into it young. You're not talking about no E6 or E4 is going to be the leader. Usually it's a BM3 or sometimes just an E3 that you trust. I can name tons of great sailors, like on the top of my head, that were, had wisdom beyond the years. Tyler Yates, Patrick Kelly, Thomas LaBarge, like Joxie Segastumi. Like I can go down the list of great people who influenced me and made me want to be a better person as a leader. And they weren't like, when I was an E2 and like I made E2 in boot camp because I was on top of my shit, and there was no need for me to listen to people who were on top of their shit, and not because I was cocky. Like I still respected their little pin on their collar device or whatever. But I was good. I knew when I got in the military that I was going to surpass every person who wasn't actively working on being better. And that wasn't because they sucked. They just weren't actively working on being better. They'd rather spend their time in the military drinking after work or whatever. I had a girlfriend who I loved at the time turn into my wife. I didn't go out and chase pussy. I spent my time studying. And people will tell you to this day, I'd be up. I'd have alarm set in the middle of the night going off, and I'd wake up on the first couple rings of my alarm on my cell phone to go ring. Second one, I was up pressing silence and start studying for an hour, and then I go back to sleep. I'm known for doing stuff like that and staying up. And I got a tablet. My wife gifted me a tablet, girlfriend at the time, and I loaded all the BM Bosamate manuals on there, and then nav eds, and I'd go around and I'd look at the applications we have in real life, like unwrap and boat operations. I'd look at it all right here, and I'd say, "Hey, this isn't right. What the fuck?" So the next day, I'd go to my leadership, Chief Brontes and BM3 Anderson, Seaman Anderson to BM3 Anderson, to BM2 Anderson. I still look up to these people, and I remember Lieutenant Junior Grade Bayless, who's now Mr. Bayless, and he's out of here, and he's one of the greatest individuals. The Anchor, the Evolution podcast is what he hosts, and he's had me on a couple times and he just being like, when you hear his voice, it tells you everything you need to know about who you want to be in the world. It's like this crazy extraterrestrial moment of knowing exactly who you want to be when you listen to somebody who's full of knowledge, full of leadership, who really does give a shit about you so much more than themselves, and wants you to have an impactful life and be a great human being, and cares about you like their own child. Chief Brontes did that for me. A lot of people used to call him my dad, and at first it was a really big insult because like I was having issues with my father at the time, and I took everything really personal. I had a chip on my shoulder. A lot of people didn't know my violent history with my father, and leaving for the military, I needed powerful, strong men who have big hearts, who will cry over the smallest thing in a movie, and who can hug you if you're feeling really low, who can teach you something new if you want to learn, and if you don't want to learn, it's okay. You're still going to do your fucking job. That's what Chief Brontes was to me. He's more than any young man who had a fucked up past can ask to be. And people there's never a chief like that in the Navy ever again. And he made senior chief, and he should have been goddamn McPon. He's the most amazing individual I've ever came in contact with that wasn't in my family at all. Ever. And leadership like that, being great fucking human beings, that art is lost, that quality is lost. And fuck, dude, like I could cry talking about him. He stopped in Seattle not too long ago, and I got to actually meet up with him, and it was such a full circle moment. It was like, when I hear the words full circle, I think of that. He came to see me, and I told him how much of impact he had on me, and my wife told him how much he had on me, and I gave him a gift, and he and he told me such great things. We talked about the current state of the United States Navy, that leadership and being a great human being are failing in the military
Yeah.
right now, and it's important that we inspire other people to fill those roles. We need more Chief Brontises. We need more Senior Chief Osberries. We need more.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say there's a couple officers who were horrible, bro. There were a couple officers that would hit on the deck girls in deck, and I'm not ashamed to say, I'm not gonna say any names
Throw
because
names.
these are
Yeah.
investigations. But there are officers, and I hope you hear this and know this is the biggest piece of trash in the entire universe. I filed the open reports. I filed the investigations when you preyed on my young sailors when I was in a leadership role, and I've had a lot of words with people, and I don't give a shit what their rank is. There's some things that
Mhm.
rank doesn't have any effect on. I don't know if you've experienced any of this, man, but I definitely had some times where people had this car device on their shoulder and they thought they could do whatever the fuck they want. Like they make
So
less than people who
yeah.
pick up garbage outside of it, and they thought they were ballers, and they were very
Yeah.
rude and egotistical is my biggest problem with people like that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with being a voice of justice and being an asshole to people who are egotistical. And that I keep it reserved,
Mhm.
but those are not leaders. Have you ever experienced anything like that in
Yeah,
the military?
absolutely. Uh, without saying names,
You can say names.
uh
Was it a Navy?
yeah, it was in the Navy.
Air it out, man.
They there was this fucking first class, and I guess later on, as I found out, there was a couple other people within the department as a whole, that some of my female sailors and friends were telling me, but they had some fucking like sexual harassment charges against them and
Good.
investigations up on them and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And let me ask you this: how long were you on the George Washington for?
I was on a GW for 90. Believe it was 94 days. I
Just that
have to
94 days.
I have to go. I have to go back like 2 cell phones and look through the picture because I wrote every day on the whiteboard how many days I've been on the wrong fucking
Yeah.
ship. And
Okay, so
this got all the way to the XO, like the XO of the GW back in 20 like 15 16, like that dude.
okay, all
We had
right.
run-ins. Like he was like, "What's going on here?" I said, "I'm on the wrong motherfucking ship. That's what the fuck is going on here." I had to get like carted away. People had to pick me up, and I freaked out, man. They you'd probably think I was insane if you didn't know what was going on. He probably did too. And I feel if I saw him in real
Okay.
life, I'd be like, "Hey, I'm sorry for freaking out on you, man. It's not your
Hey, so
fault."
I'm sorry. I thought that's not me actually.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
not me.
pissed
I'm
off.
better now. We're
Um,
in a better place.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
tell me.
So there was this fucking specifically there was I'll never forget. I remember I tried to put a packet to try out for the fucking Navy Boxing Club.
Uh-huh.
And, my chief at the time, Chief Constantine, Chief
Chief
Constantino, which
Constantine, of course.
Constantino, hey, he honestly, a lot of people say they didn't like him. Might have People might have even called him racist. I I actually thought he was like right in the neutral spectrum of
Okay.
things. Like he was very fair and like he was kind of like the old school dude of like, you work hard, I'm gonna give you a reward. Absolutely. I mean, that's what I grew up on. Used my father as the
No
example, and that's what
sacrifice,
I
no
fucking
victory.
yeah, exactly. Like, yo, whatever you need, chief, I got you. Even I mean, don't get me wrong though, I'm a fucking bitch, especially if it's something that I ain't want to fucking do, and you're asking me for the most inopportune time. I'll bitch and moan the entire time, but it'll get done.
A
You just gotta
complaining
listen to my
sailor
meeting
is a
bed.
happy sailor, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm trying to put my packet in to go to the Navy Boxing Club
Mhm.
and like at least try out for it and everything, right? Like
Did you like
always
boxing at
wanted
the
to
time?
box. Uh, like yes and no. Like I boxed and I learned how to box. Basically, I had people who were actually in the sport when I was growing up, teaching me how to fight essentially. Um, and then
Sweet.
I just took what they taught me. Like one of the things that I did was this is back in Jersey, New York City Sports Club, and one of their studios for their personal training, when they had the bags hooked up, I would have my laptop out and then I would angle myself to where I could see the laptop and see myself in the reflection. And one of the fighters he used to copy, because that's what it is essentially. No real fighter has like their own style. Everybody kind of copies their own and then adds their spice to it.
Yeah.
Lemonchenkov, all right, basically copying his movement, his combos, and how he like rotates in and out of the bag. Oscar De La Hoya I grew up on him. Mayweather, Gotti,
Mike Tyson's
Marquez,
one of my favorites, man.
Marquez, there you go. But yeah, like basically, I would watch their fights, watch them, see how they're throwing their punches and their positioning, and I would watch myself in the mirror and just practice on that.
Okay.
Do I ever want to actually pursue boxing? I mean, look, I'm at 20. I'm 28 years old right now. I don't think I'll actually ever make it big enough. I
Dude,
know.
don't ever say anything in front of me that quells your dreams, brother. Listen, man, you can do anything. If you really want to pursue a goal, brother, all you got to do is shut off every single noise in the back of your mind that says you can't do it. Look at a whiteboard or a wall or some shit or a piece of most people prefer a piece of paper. I like walls. I like writing on walls. My wife
It's more
got
permanent.
I wrote on walls and we had to paint over it, and it's still popping through now. Writing on you can write on anything. Write on anything and write down your goal. And you know what? Until you've achieved it, I want you to start to consider yourself an absolute failure, and you're gonna win. I promise you this, because you'll be so driven to do that. And I don't like to deal in absolution, so that was obviously a joke.
Yeah.
But when you write down your goal, make it and think about what goes into that, and start writing underneath that what the steps take to get to the goal. It's now tangible. It's real.
Yeah.
You can pursue this honestly, because I've written down goals. I've achieved every single goal I've ever written down. I've achieved, and like I don't know very many people who can say that. My goals are very realistic. My first goal was to not be skinny and weak. I went from 125 pounds to 212 was my max out, like how heavy I ever got. And then I dropped down, and now I'm like 186. I just weighed the other day, 186. And as soon as my shoulder heals from my injury, I can start doing jujitsu, and I'm gonna do jujitsu for the rest of my life, because I said this is a sport I can do for the rest of my life, and not just because I don't want to compete in it, but I want to do it because the life saving necessity of it. You know,
absolutely.
Not everybody can stop themselves. I don't want to punch people anymore. My hands are all fucked up and scarred from that. It's not fun. Hurting people is not great. But you know what is? Diffusing a fight by folding them up and choking them out is good. And I've been doing jujitsu without knowing what it was for a while, so I might as well use this this time in my life, this life I have, to be the best protector for my family and all that. So write down your goals, man. Go after them. See what happens.
All right.
That being said, and you know what, we can talk more offline about your goals and how to structure a plan, because I can tell you from A to B how to achieve any goal in life. And the first thing you need to do is go to Machiavelli Motivation and watch Mike Tyson's video on there. That's what I did. I watched a motivational video and it changed me. It was Eric. ET, and it was do you want to be successful? As bad as you want to breathe video that got me through the most difficult times of my life, when I didn't want to breathe anymore, when I didn't want to live anymore, when my family was broken. I was living in a fucking crack house. So there's nothing that you can't do, man, as long as you commit to it. And that being said, so you do the boxing thing, right? So and this guy says no. What did he say? No?
Like my chief, he didn't say no, but the paperwork just miraculously like never got sent.
Sounds like all my special warfare packets I put in. Motherfuckers, man. God damn.
But here's the thing though, right? So the fucking first class, he played rugby, and they sent him out to San Diego to try out for the Navy rugby team, while he still was fucking still being under investigation. He still had charges on him. And
what?
Yeah. Now I could be
You know how
wrong.
many people? You know how many people it takes to let that shit slide. So that means everybody in the lineup above him who knew about this investigation let it slide.
Now I could be wrong, but as far as I remember, the dude had fucking sexual harassment, and like they could have been just allegations, which is still like if you have multiple allegations of sexual harassment or any sharp case,
Mhm.
like you shouldn't be really dealing with anything.
At
Like
all.
you need
I
you
can tell
need
you
to
this right
be
now. Not a single
investigated
sailor,
heavily.
100%, not a single sailor under my jurisdiction ever can say that I've pressed myself upon them. Like I stick by my fucking books. Like if I say I'm in a relationship with somebody, and it's not for everybody, but I said I'm in a relationship with my wife, girlfriend at the time, turned into my wife throughout my naval career. That is it.
Congrats, by the
That
way.
is it. Thank you, man. I've best decision I ever made. Wish the government wasn't involved in marriage. I wish it was really just a purely choice that would make all these
Yep.
douchebags out there who cheat on their wife and then get divorces. That would give them an easy way out to go ahead and be a coward and break their vows somewhere else. But
Yeah.
like me being able to commit to this, all my sailors, like every single lady under my jurisdiction, knew who my wife was via Facebook,
Mhm.
or I showed them pictures of her. They asked how she was. It was a normal, these people became my little family,
Mhm.
and it was really awesome.
Absolutely.
I can't say the same for a lot of my, my counterparts. A lot of them, we had to deal with some people preying upon our deck girls, and it was a fucking issue. It's an
Yeah.
issue with me. As soon as you, these are like not like my daughters, I wouldn't say, but these are my nieces. I
No,
looked at them.
I mean, like,
I
hey,
told them
man,
all,
like
I'm your uncle
they're your
now.
kids.
I told them, I
They're your
said, listen,
kids.
I'm 3 years older than you. I'm your uncle. It don't matter how you feel. And if I see some fuckery around, I don't give a shit about these Navy standards. I'm gonna do my best to protect you. I don't care if I have
Yeah.
to file a report. I don't care if I gotta whoop somebody's ass in the machine room or on the fucking in the windlass. I whip some ass anywhere. And if I lose, I lose. But I stuck up for something right.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
okay. I can lose. I've lost before. I'm not afraid to say I got my ass whooped. Shit. But it's okay. Because I tried. We can't
Yeah,
have
man.
this. We can't. Jeff Bayless said it best, man. We cannot expect people to do their best in the military if we don't give them our best individually. Like I can't, if I don't protect these deck girls, how am I supposed to expect them to respect my leadership, to listen to what I
Yep.
say? I'm not their daddy and mommy, but they're here to follow my instruction. If I don't make sure my flock is safe, what type of shepherd am
Mhm.
I? And we can all be
Exactly.
shepherds as far as leadership goes. But this guy, he just got the go ahead to go hang out and have fun with the rugby. Or
I mean, he didn't. He did. So he didn't. He ended up didn't not making it, and then he came back and everything, and it was just like kind of weird. It's like, so you were able to go to TDY to try out for a
basically go hang
sport,
out. Like
and
there's no job you have to do there.
I couldn't try out for the boxing club. Like weird, weird. That's fucked up, but whatever. I fucking just took it on the chin and then just fucking kept on trucking. And then
Mm.
close to my end of my naval career, it was like, well, we got no billets for you. So at that point, I was like, all right, fuck this whole thing, dude.
That makes me sad, man. It makes me really sad to hear that for quite a few reasons. A few of which being, one, look how undermanned they are. These
Yep.
idiots who were pushing papers back in 2015, who hired tenured Patrick Kelly, one of the only people I know who can honestly, like, he knew how to do his job from the Enterprise. He came over, he taught so many of the sailors on the
Mhm.
Enterprise, from the Enterprise, come over to the TR to teach us how to do things. I didn't know how to do things. There were people who were BM2s and BM3s who were supposed to be leading unrep, bringing bombs to our ship, bringing food to our
Mhm.
supplies,
Mhm.
dropping fast boats, who didn't know what the hell they were doing. And you know what?
What the fuck?
Like they no idea. Like when we're in the docks, BMs, that, like, how usually it's like, what's a yard period, like 2.5 3 years. That could be everybody who knows what they're doing, And it could be we're bringing in the SEAL dropouts. We're bringing in the people who failed at A school. We're bringing in people who are severely depressed, who have alcohol issues, got in trouble for ARIs in A school, lost their rate. And we're shepherding all these people as leaders, and we have to make them do things like save your life when you fall overseas, or fall over in the water, or jump over the side because you want to commit suicide. We have to do all that. So we're shepherding all these people. A lot of them didn't know what they were doing, bro. I was one of the first people who got sent TAD to the USS George H.W. Bush. And on the Bush, I got to learn from people how to stand watch and all these things, and how to stay warm when it's freezing cold. Dude, it was 12 degrees outside, and I'm sitting there with a little girl. Like, this girl must be fresh out of high school, and it's freezing cold. Freezing cold. How am I supposed to stand there in a pumpkin suit when she didn't have one? Because I got gifted one, because I gave my pumpkin suit up, and I sat there and I froze my fucking dick off, because and that's not, this is me being kind to another human being. It's sad. But back in, but it killed me to see different people absolutely cripple and fail at simple tasks. Like, what are you supposed to do? Nobody knew. So they sent us TAD to different ships that we're deploying in the yards. And then Patrick Kelly showed up and Thomas Labard showed up, these guys who just got done with deployment. And they're like, look at you idiots have no idea what you're doing. And of course, our super authoritarian regime there of people who made rank with no idea how to do their job so they felt pretty overwhelmed and disrespected and uncomfortable with people who were ranking lower than them, who knew they knew more. And this also reflects on them. Just because you know more doesn't mean you need to embarrass your leadership. We can all work together to make things happen. And you know what? Is it going to make them more lenient on you if you show them new things and teach them so they can be better instructors in their leadership role? Yes. So we did get great training. And there was times where our chief Brontes had to step down and show these younger sailors, shut up, stop embarrassing my POs. Here, POs, this is what you need to know. Now teach them. And that trickle, that fountain, that waterfall with multiple little lakes and stuff like that is needed. We don't always need to move the rocks so things flow smoothly. Sometimes we need to create these pools in this long line of waterfalls and just circle around them for a second until we got shit figured out. And my biggest, most appreciative moment in all of my time in the military, when things really clicked for me as what a leader needs to be. At the end of the day, a leader needs to be humble, arrogant, an asshole, kind, have a big heart, little patience, and more importantly than anything, communicate selectively. All these weird, this and that ultimately turn into being a level-headed motherfucker who just is cool. It's not hard to spend your time learning how to do your job better and share it with people. It's not, but so many people don't do it. And that your story about this douchebag who had multiple sexual harassment cases against him, like, those don't just pop up out of nowhere. People don't just say, hey, well, I'm a victim now. It's not no me. Like people say this Me Too shit is bullshit. It's not always just bullshit. And it applies to the military as well. A lot of times there are people out there that are horrible, and they think they can treat young men and women fresh out of high school like less than. Did you ever feel like you were treated like less than?
In ever?
Yeah, in the military.
Oh, in the military? Yeah. Like I felt like, man, like I felt like I was caught in the middle. Like I wasn't wide enough to get, I guess, like acknowledged and or like push for NAMs, promotion, but then I also wasn't like too like I wasn't on the other side of the spectrum too. Like I was caught in the middle. Majority of anybody if on the ship was all fucking Latinos. If they were either like a warrant officer and or an officer, but from like way different departments. Which I mean, they can't really help me other than just give me advice as to like what I could do. Like I just had to like really force myself to like work, and like you would think like minorities will tend to like stick together to try to like uplift each other and everything, but like that wasn't the case. On top of that, too, on the George Washington, man, like the Philippine mafia fucking ran that whole
The
fucking
Filipino
ship,
mafia runs the Navy.
bro.
They
Yo,
ain't never
especially
changing. They run the
in
show.
Seventh Fleet, like that was the shit. I'll never forget. I had a I've seen an E3, or it could have been like E201. I don't know. I don't know in the coveralls, but like there wasn't a bird on his fucking collars. He didn't have a collar device.
So no
And I'm
crows.
seeing a fucking chief talking to him, and they're talking Tagalog and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? And they're both, and like, yo, they're not talking to each other, and like he's correcting them. Nah, they bullshitting because like they know each other somehow.
Mhm.
Like, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, and like he talks to him talks to a few of his buddies, find out where he's at, and this and that. Oh yeah, I know him. Don't worry, I got you. We'll put a good word in. Let's do this. Like, damn, bro. Like, what the fuck?
You know, a lot of if you're Filipino and you're listening to this and you don't know what the Filipino mafia and the Navy is, like somebody's lying to you. Okay, somebody you're
If they
outside of
say
the
it
loop
does not,
because
if
everybody knows what the Filipino mafia is. It
and
doesn't matter how like I don't care how old or young you are. If you're in the Navy and you've heard about the Filipino mafia, you know what they do. They are it's like the most beautifully organized. Hey, you're one of us things ever. And it's not necessarily like a bad thing, but if you ain't in the Filipino mafia, you ain't in the Filipino mafia at all. Did
yeah,
you
yeah,
so was your were your chiefs at the time white? Because you said you weren't white enough earlier.
yeah,
Did you so you
yeah. I
experienced
didn't I
actual
didn't do
racism?
enough.
Because I've
I didn't do enough lifted truck mudding, fishing, hunting, country music.
oh, you weren't a country boy.
And we, man, like I put it this way, when we adopted Virginia and shit,
Mm.
the only reason I like country music is because the few friends that actually introduced it to me, Mako Apodaca, Donald Kubik, uh there was a third guy I'm missing. I feel horrible for forgetting him. He was part of the crew.
It's hard to
TJ
remember a lot of
Cook,
names, man. TJ Cook.
TJ Cook, right? Like there's a few other people that introduced me to country music too. Like they kind of introduced me like to like, all right, we're not gonna introduce this like popular shit. We're gonna introduce you some old like, Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson,
Mm.
like that generation of old country music. Then they were like they eased me into like, all right, so like not too modern country, but like here's some new country. I was like, all right. And then it was in general it was like an adapt to survive, because like I'm in Virginia and I grew up being a Yankee, understanding that you're in a southern state now, you're in a predominantly white southern state now, and these are all stereotypes and preconceptions that I've had growing up, and like you just gotta be careful. You're gonna get fucking lynched. You're not. You're a fucking Latino, bro. They're gonna say that like you get your
Did
ass
you
over
get
back over the
warned? Did you
border.
get warned about that at all? Because but real quick before you answer that, what about Hank Williams Jr.?
I'd
You
have to
didn't
look at
you
my
didn't
library.
mention my boy Hank. Okay, country boy
I
can't
didn't.
survive.
Oh my god, country boy can't survive. Yeah,
Listen,
that's a
man,
good one.
you
That's a good
haven't.
one.
You got to listen to the live version. It's the if you go to YouTube, it's the third one down. You'll see him with the old ass hat, and it's when he looks old. You need to listen to that one. That's the good. The live version is hilarious. He loves his vets, man. 101st Airborne. He talks about him a lot in this song.
Fuck
So
yeah, fuck
please
yeah.
do. But
Um,
so you got warned about these
and it's
societal
like I wasn't.
normalities. Like, hey, you're
Yeah, and it wasn't
Latino,
like
you're in
I.
Virginia, you're in the South now. Things are different here. There's cultural hatred brewed in, and not to say that all white people are racist or all black people are racist or whatever the fuck, right? Because
Yeah,
I'm sure there's been people who messaged me before about things that I say. There's a lot of people there are fucking racist. I'm not putting a blanket statement on this shit. But you said you
yeah,
were considered not white enough, and you were warned, hey, being careful because you're Latino.
yeah. And it's not like, and this is what something that I grew up with though.
Mm-hmm.
Like being, as far as I can
Being
remember,
brown in America, in certain areas, it can fucking
like
get you killed.
yeah,
Yes, and a lot of
like
people don't know that.
And it's like, well, do you feel like you can get killed or this not over here? I mean, or do we make you feel safe? Like, no, motherfucker. Like I
That's not
fucking
how it
served.
works.
Like I fucking served with you. We fucking talk on a daily basis. There's time. Like I fought you. I fist fought you. Like you're not dead. I'm not dead. I trust you. Like shut the fuck up. Drink the beer with me, dipshit.
Mm-hmm. A lot of
But it
people
was
have never experienced that, man, and it can be hard for them to capture. I remember one of the most difficult experiences for me growing up, as far as racism, wasn't anything that happened to me. Somebody threw popcorn down on. I was sitting there watching a movie for the first time with me, my mom, and my dad,
mm-hmm.
and he's from the South. He's from Macon, Georgia. He stood up. He turned around and said, "Are we all right, you racist motherfuckers?" And then he started like getting shitty, like out of nowhere. I guess it's a normalcy for racist people in areas of Georgia back when he was growing up, and this trauma hit him hard, dude. To throw popcorn at the
It was
black
a trigger.
guys,
Yeah, it was a trigger.
and so he got set off immediately. And like a lot of people haven't, some people haven't experienced that. I didn't experience that. No one ever threw popcorn at me before that. But these were some like 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 13-year-old kids. The parents were like,
Mm-hmm.
here's a couple $100. Go to the movies. I don't care. Like me and your mom are gonna get it in for or once a year or whatever, right? So they sent the kids off and they were
But
just being shitty. But what was that something you experienced in Virginia as well? Like racism?
like, not really. Uh, with the exception of, oh man, it was so there was this bar called the Bank. It just brought a memory actually. It's this bar called the Bank. Me and my boy Colton Williams. Um, we got a little drunk. He more than I, and there was these two girls. I guess he was talking to one, and the other one was a friend, which I kind of knew her in passing. So like we would eventually like talk. Nothing really happened between me and the friend. We just kind of stayed talking to each other, just in a very like amicable, platonic way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what if a boy did anything with the other girl, but like there was a diner right next to the bar that we used to go that they ended up introducing us to. And it was I guess it was like family owned. And there was this bald headed white man. I think he was drunk and he was somehow related to Colton's chick real quick. And there was a black dude sitting in the back corner. I remember that. It was a couple. I think they just got done with the bar. Us four already ordered. We're just waiting to pick up our food and like chow down and everything. And yeah, he just starts yapping her about and then he starts throwing like the N-word out. I'm like, bro, whoa. And like I'm looking over
Like
at
I hate so like
and
you
I'm
we can
looking
we
at
can, we can
Cole.
say it
I'm
here,
like,
man. So I need you to speak in context. So did he say like, hey, was he
ER,
dissing this
hard
guy like,
R,
hey,
man.
nigger, like really fucked up, like as deep as horrible as he could go?
And but man,
Because some people, I have friends, and I've personally been called that while getting ran down by neo Nazis. Like, thank God I thought on my feet in the situation. I'm still alive to talk about it. But like
yeah, holy
everybody
shit.
has different. Uh,
He
they're
wasn't,
associated with
yeah,
that
he
word
wasn't like
differently.
talking, he wasn't talking like down, like trying to like tell him
Trying to
like,
belittle somebody, but he was using it in commonality.
quote unquote, he's not like them others blank. He's
Oh,
the good blank. I'm like,
oh, he's not
bro,
like those other niggers. He's a
no.
good nigger. That's what he
Oh
said.
my god.
He said
Like,
those words.
yeah.
That's got to be the
Shit
most
you not. And I'm over here.
small-minded, idiotic person I've ever heard of,
And
man.
Cole, right? Colt is like he's from the bayous in Louisiana and like he's deep south, but like he was like, nah man, like I hate fucking racist ass motherfuckers. Like that motherfuckers just be saying like, you know, well, N-words and shit like that. Like, yeah, I don't fuck with it. Like I don't say
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't think any of my friends should be saying it. Anybody
Mm-hmm.
that like just should not be saying it. Just to be fucking out with it. If you're not it, you're not it. And if you're not you don't belong to it, you don't belong to it. Just fucking remove it from your vocabulary. And I'm looking at him as all this is playing out. I'm like, Yo,
That racist
where
couple, like when you say those words, some people think they're getting lynched. Like if you say if there was a person right down in my house right now and he said, oh blah 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 nigger, I think this person's trying to kill my dad. Like
yeah,
I think this person wants my grandpa, who is a Black Panther, to die. I think this person doesn't want to hold me as a child because my grandpa on my white side of my family, my mom's grandpa and grandma didn't want to hold me as a child because I was black, and to them I was a nigger. Like
God
that's what
damn.
that's what that word carries. So some people don't know what that word carries. Some people don't know the word nigger means. Like I want to fucking string you up, cut off your dick and ears, and send it to a black family in my area. Like a lot of
Yeah,
people don't know how severe it really can be. Some people have never watched the movie Rosewood or Roots or Django, and they think that's all just fabrication of Hollywood. They don't know the half of it. Like I enjoy Black History Month because it
yep,
provides some perspective, and not because of the speeches, not because of the memorials, not because
yep,
oh man, so glad it's Black History Month. Good job, guys. You're black. None of
yeah,
that shit. Because I get to see the Facebook pictures come up from the history books, the
yep.
real documents showing how horrible shit was back in those days of
Back in the
slavery
day.
and what that
Yeah.
word means to people. A lot of people don't know the word. Oh, like I say it in commonality, like over this podcast or as an
Mhm.
example, because I know a lot of people don't use it, and that's okay. I don't use it. I don't just walk around like, oh hey, whatever, right? That's horrible, right? But
Yep.
and 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 the NIGA and the Ethiopian background to it, and like Kendrick Lamar breaks it down in one of his videos. Um, the difference between what that means and what the hard R means, like, and how essential it is to have understanding. You
Mhm.
will never catch me saying, "Hey, my nigga, how's it going, man?" No, you know why? Because there's somebody around that's gonna be like, huh, okay,
Mhm.
time to have some Bud Lights. I'm gonna say it too. No, bitch. Like,
No.
but more than that shallow level of what I just said, there's a lot that goes into racism, man. There's a
Yeah.
lot. Some people, like I grew up with kids. Like my second podcast guest was raised to be a racist, and he said, "Fuck you, dad. You're horrible." When he really realized what racism was, and it broke his
Yeah.
heart. Like I've
Yeah.
had great conversations with neo Nazis and made them change their mind. I've listened to podcasts with great people who made people leave the Ku Klux Klan. And the most powerful thing you can do as a human being is to stop looking at people through a racial lens, or
Yeah.
sorry, racial lens, and start looking at them as the people that, and as a character. What are
Yeah.
you? And I listen to you. I don't see a Latino guy. I see a human being who's got a
Yeah.
story. He's got a child. He powers through tough times in his life, and he's still here today because of it.
Yeah. I mean, like speaking of which, like you kind of just touched up on it, like talking about like cultural differences, like
Mhm.
if anybody if anybody ever, and I say this like jokingly, right, because it's kind of been brought out a little bit here and there and a few other podcasts, but it's like, yo, Latinos be racist as fuck against everybody, including our own selves. Like, yo, you got Puerto Ricans that hate fucking Dominicans, you got Dominicans that hate fucking Cubans, you got Cubans that hate fucking Puerto Ricans.
And
Don't
that's
get me
hard. And
started
that's
on South America.
heartbreaking. That's
It's so
heartbreaking.
bad. It's
Well,
so
black.
fucking bad.
I in my experience, I've seen a whole lot of in my experience, and this experience is different
Yeah,
for everybody. I'm not here to
yeah,
judge. I'm just here to share mine. A lot of black people hate white people with a passion, a fiery passion that might
mm-hmm.
have nothing to do with who they are. And is that going to stop this problem of racism? Fuck no, it's not. Like my family not liking my wife because she's white, is that going to solve racism? Fuck no. The lady in Las Vegas who said, "Mind your fucking business," when my wife clapped for her when she won a bonus and looked her up and down and was rude as shit to her. I know I'm not dumb. I know when you're being a racist fuck. It's not hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
And she was my wife didn't experience racism before that. My
Mm-hmm.
wife wasn't pulled over for walking while white until she went to Mexico and saw how shit could get. Like I can share my experiences with other people about
Mhm.
like racism I've experienced. It's not really going to do the world a service, but until you've been there, you don't know. It's real. There's people out there who don't like you because of your skin color. It's
I mean, if I,
horrible. It's
man, I
horrible.
if I grow out
Voldemort,
my beard,
Voldemort and Harry Potter is a good example, right? Like
yeah,
he hates the half bloods or the Muggles, right?
the
And that's
Muggles.
a way of teaching kids to love one another based off of who you are, not
Where
we
you
don't need to
from? Whatever.
like
Yeah.
I don't hate you because you're skin color, brother. Like you have a dick and balls. You're a man. You're my brother. Okay, woman, sister. It's pretty simple. We don't need to hate each
Mhm.
other because of our skin colors. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of people never got that talking to when they were a kid and they grew up being a little bitch who's racist, right? But it is what it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's just and like even like even if because it happened. Oh man, it happened when so we over here we have a buyer. Is what we call it, and think of it like it's like your Kroger, it's like your Walmart, it's like your it's
So your
not
local store, yeah,
yeah,
like
it's
a
a local
QFC
store.
or a Safeway.
Yeah,
Okay,
or Publix.
yeah,
Yeah. Um. So I like fast forward like I'm out. It's already been like a year, or whatever, year and a half. I grew out my beard. I grew out my hair. And when I get tan, like yo, I could either look like I'm straight from the islands, or if I have my facial hair and my hair grown out, I literally look like I came from the Middle East.
okay.
And
Oh
I'll
God.
never forget this fucking lady, this old bitch. I'm sorry, wow,
Yeah, no,
but
no. Be honest, man. I'm
she
like
fucking
it hurts me that you hurt so much from this that you're remember her like that. It's tough.
she had the fucking box Karen cut. She had her, and she looked like she just got done from like a little like Sunday church thing.
Hmm.
She had a nice dress on and everything. She looked like a genuine
She just got done praising Jesus.
praising Jesus,
I'm happy
but
for her.
not for these brown people.
Oh
Clearly,
God.
she like had this fucking mean mug, and she looked me up and down, and then she like kind of like followed me for the other like 3 hours, and like where I grew up, inner city, like you had to kind of look behind your back
Yeah. Oh
because
hell yeah, you do.
gangs, yo, you're always gonna get jumped.
Dude,
Somebody's gonna
gangs.
try to jump you for your
Somebody
shit.
could try to
Watch,
steal your
dude,
sister. What like me
yo,
for me, it was my sister. Like I have a little baby sister. I'm going to the mini mart with her. I need to make sure that no one's following us trying to apprehend her.
traffic, yeah,
Mhm.
like so I catch her kind of like just follow me, and like she ain't, and like I go to like aisles where I'm like she has no business coming in here, right? Like I go to like I try to go through like the men's aisle for like deodorant and all that
Mhm.
shit. She's in there. I'm like, all right, well, maybe she has something for like her husband or whatever. But she ain't picked nothing. Go around the next aisle, follows me
So
around
she's
there.
just
I'm like,
trailing
yo,
you,
get the,
and it's
I'm
not
just
hard to know when you're being trailed either.
like, it's not that hard. No, I'm like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Like, so I ended up losing her or whatever, but like it just fucking rubbed me the wrong way. I get back to my car and everything, and I'm just like what the fuck? Like what the fucking fuck? What fucks me up is I feel because and it's even more so now that like I joined the infantry. Um it's I feel like I'm tolerated now. I without the military background, without that veteran status, if I have all my tattoos and everything, I'm just some other fucking Latino dude that could be potentially gang related and I do drugs. Just general stereotype. But it's the
People
fact
treat you
that I
like
have
that to
that
where you feel like that way.
yeah, the fact
Mm.
that I have that veteran status attached is that I feel that I am tolerated. I'm tolerated because and it goes back to like how I mentioned it with that one guy in the diner. I'm not I'm not I'm not them bad Latinos. He's one of them good Latinos.
I see what you're saying.
Join
And
the
that's
military.
disgusting, man. You shouldn't feel
It's
like that.
fucking
That sucks.
it fucking it rubs me the wrong way, but it's like it is the way that the world is, and like it fucking hurts because like my kid is fucking brown, like he has darker complexion than me, honestly, and he's got like I'm just hoping that the next generation of parents, you know, the parents that are doing this shit with me, that they like, yo, we have to break it. We have to break that fucking generational cycle of racism. Like, yo,
and
like
hate,
my kid's
ultimately
gonna
just
fuck,
hatred in
my
general,
kid's gonna
man.
be
Yeah.
exposed to this, and it's fucked up, man. And how do you like how do because all my dad did was tell me, like, you know what, they envy of your skin, but like don't take it to heart, this and that. Like, you know, they want your hair, they want your skin. That's why they apply that fake tan. That's why they try to copy the hairstyles and shit and this and that. That's why they try to open up all these fucking Hispanic places, try to copy our foods and everything. And I can't, like, I feel like I can't say that to my kid if he were to experience it. If anything, I'm just gonna be like, hey man, just don't take it to heart. They're just grew up in a house full of hate. That's it. Don't worry about it.
Jesus Christ, man.
And is that
I
going to be
never thought
enough
about
to
that at
explain that
all
to
to this
to
day.
to my kid when he experiences it and he asks me like,
Yeah, it's tough, man. Jesus Christ. I don't want to get all emotional and shit. Jesus Christ. I I gotta be honest,
but
man.
it's
I never thought about it like that. Like we are obviously I'm about to have children. Um my wife is really big on the fact that we've experienced, like, she knows I've experienced racism in my life, and it's bothered me. It's bothered me, but I deal with it in the best way I can, which is
mm-hmm.
being open about it and slowly opening up and talking to people about it, so I don't
Yeah,
uh, carry hatred in my heart based off of the hatred I've received. And you talked about people growing up with hatred in their hearts. I think it's there's never an easy way to talk to children. I've had explained to my wife's little brother why it doesn't matter what designs he wants in his hair, even though he's
yeah,
white. It's okay. You can wear whatever design you want in your hair, and it doesn't matter what people say. And
yeah,
people say, "Were you trying to be black?" to him, shit like that, and it's disgusting to me. It's disgusting to me because, you know what? Being black is fucking beautiful. Being
yeah,
white is beautiful. Being Latino is beautiful. Being Asian, Pacific Islander, like Hawaii, like all of it's beautiful. We are, we're humans, and we're human beings, and we're imperfect. And
mm-hmm.
that imperfection is what creates the individuality in all of us. It would be a shame if I was just like every black person or every black and white person, because I'm half white. It would be a
Mm-hmm.
shame if I didn't know where my culture came from, the Shaka Zulu tribe, direct descendant. If I didn't know that on
Yeah,
my black side, it would be a shame. If I, it would be a shame if I thought that a joke about chucking spears because I'm black is funny in
yeah,
running track and and throwing javelin farther than most white kids did. It would be a shame if I ran fast and somebody called it slave feet. It would be a shame. Like,
what the whoa,
regardless of what longest yard movies out there, right? And some of that's got some slave feet. Like, we make these jokes, and can they be funny? Yes, comedy is great, but in real life, when you're facing this actual uh disgusting act of degrading you as a human being based off your skin color, your
yeah,
orientation, who the fuck you love, like all these things, or race, religion, these things that are supposed to make us like divided. Like, I don't
mm-hmm.
like these boxes people put each other into. But
Mm-hmm.
so I'll be damned if I get put into a box, and I'll be damned if my child gets put in a box. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna call you light skin from now on because your dad's half black and white, and then your mom's white, so you're not even black at all. Like, shut the fuck up. Yeah, my kid's probably gonna
Yeah,
punch you in the face, because
yeah,
it's important to
yeah,
stand up against violence. It's important to stand up against these walls of hatred. And I've had a lot of teachers and parents try to lecture me on violence over hatred, and this hatred so violence. And you know what? Violence solves hatred a lot of times, and it's not about the guns. It's about being
no,
honest and
yeah,
open, and it's about communication. The message you give. Punching somebody in the face once and telling them, "Hey, the reason you're lying here on the ground and you just woke up from your knockout from me is because blah blah blah." And it's going to happen again if you continue to harm other people's souls and make them feel like they don't have a
exactly,
place in this earth, because we all do.
exactly,
We all have a place in this earth. And I'm sorry you've felt these feelings, man. It breaks my heart that you have to worry about your son or your daughter in the future. And it's so great that you're having these conscious thoughts as a father, that you want them to not feel what you feel. I don't think there's
Yeah.
enough parents in the world that really say, I'm not going to allow my children to feel the same way I felt when my dad told me this or my mom told me this. And
Mhm.
I just want to commend you on that, man. So you're now in the Army National Guard, correct?
Yep. Yep.
And it's been a great experience as far as
So
leadership
far.
and so far, and things are changed. Uh, what is it like going as a vet back into the military?
um so being in the National Guard just allows to fill that void. Transitioning out of the Navy to civilian side, right? I did 4 years Navy, 4 years civilian. Um, Fucking terrible choices, and we can talk about it on a different time. But
Yeah, we can cover
it's
that. I'll write it down and remember. We'll talk about that in the upcoming
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
just it kind of the training itself just kind of, and I think particularly like the infantry training itself, besides squad tactics, fire team tactics, fucking room clearing, shooting guns, like I said, like taking that leadership role, right, as a team lead, your drill sergeants that I looked at, that I put as, you know, like my mentor for the cycle to like help me get to where I need to be, and to help me, you know, help my team. Um, it just filled that void that I had when I left. Do I think about going active duty? Yeah, absolutely. Even with like my kid and everything, like I still, it's a son, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but yeah, like my boy.
Oh, I Facebook stalked you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like I still think about it, about going active duty. National Guard, for any of my vets looking to like get back into it. It really is just like it helps fill that void a little bit. Now I haven't got to my unit yet, right? I'm supposed to report there on the I think next Friday. Uh but as of right now, it just, I feel a little bit more complete.
Do you feel
Um
grounded, like kind of thing?
Definitely,
Yeah.
absolutely, definitely more grounded. What Because how I left 6 months, well now 8 months, 7 months ago, when I left back in, what was that, March, to when I came back in August. How I left in March is not the same person, absolutely, when I came back. Um, yeah, just I would recommend it to any vet who just feels like they really do feel lost, no matter, even if they got a great job and everything, and like
You
you
got a
just feel
great
like there's
life,
just,
that
you
having
just
having
have
a
that
great
void.
home and stuff like that doesn't really always feel like like a need that we have, that we can develop this need for not just camaraderie, but for
Yeah,
purpose. A lot of people leave
yeah,
the military, we don't know our fucking purpose. And
yeah,
that I think that is and I know that we can get into we can talk about mental health at a different time. I don't want to get too deep into it because
yeah, yeah,
obviously, like, this is obviously your active duty in or you're in a military status right
yeah,
now, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm all about, but obviously you've had friends and I've had friends that didn't transition out of the military well, and they needed something to come back to give them that sense of family purpose that they weren't getting at home when they came home. And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't come home all the way, and they're not ready to come home, and it's okay. It's okay to not be ready to come home. It's it's not easy for the friend I talked to last week to come home and be scared of his own children in the room, thinking that they're going to shoot at him because he had kids with
Oh,
AKs shooting at him and he had to end their lives
oh,
overseas. It's
fuck.
okay. It's okay to be open and honest. And like my heart goes out to vets who are super into combat and vets who weren't.
Yeah,
Everybody has their own struggles, man. And um, that's a good message that the National Guard.
it's an option, and
It is an
like
option, yeah.
it's just something, if you really truly are just trying to find yourself, to get yourself grounded back
Mhm.
on your feet, essentially. Um,
Absolutely.
like speaking of transition, like yeah, because like when you leave the Navy, or when you leave your unit for good and like you transition out, like civilians are just not, they're just not the same. Like I don't like they're just not. They don't
They don't know the value of time.
they don't know the value of time. They don't know like when you go back to work at your civilian job and everything, like they don't, it's just not the same. The atmosphere is not the same. Uh you're only there literally for a paycheck versus like when you're there, it doesn't matter how long the fuck you're there, you're like suffering together essentially, right? So you have that bonding, you know. Even the friends, like the friends that uh I made when I was in the military, right? Like
They're for life.
camaraderie,
For life.
camaraderie, yeah, camaraderie through shared experiences, essentially. Trying to build that same level of connection with somebody outside, while not impossible, it's still kind of hard because you're there's always going to be like something missing in a way. Um, they're not going to relate everything to you. You're not going to relate everything to them. You always like share experiences and learn more as a person. But I've had difficulty since I left, like even maintaining friendships, even investing, I should say, investing in friendships. That's the big one because when you're in, you really don't like. Yeah, you do need to still work on your buddies and everything, but like it was just so much easier to just get out of your barracks room, go across or go down the hall and just knock on the door and just be like, "Yo, bro, what's up? You haven't been doing this lately. I just want to check in on you."
And
Um,
I think we all have, we're you got it just right, man. We're all tied together based off of this thing, and it is this call to service.
yeah,
And I would say we all do make sacrifices, but the real sacrifice a lot of times from my past experience is it's fell on the in the laps of the family. People,
yeah,
the people who turn into gold star families, the people who lose their service members, their
yeah,
family sacrifices, and sometimes not. Sometimes the person gives up their whole life just to go to the military, and they never come home.
yeah,
So they sacrifice on their own. But I definitely agree with you, man. It is hard to establish relationship and maintain them. I have a difficult time with my friends, watching them be bad people. It crushes me. I don't want a bad person on my team, and I look at that in an extreme form compared to normal civilians. But to
yeah,
me, if you're not down, if you ain't loyal to me, if you ain't loyal to your woman, if you ain't loyal to your guy, like I don't fucking trust you. And I have, and not
yeah.
because I have trust issues, it's because I have high standards, and I should have high standards. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
trust anybody who isn't. If you enter my home and you're not willing to shoot, if there's an act, if there's like a person who's shooting outside my house at my house, I expect you to either grab a gun from my what I hand you, or
Yeah,
pull your gun out and shoot at this motherfucker who's trying to harm me. And if you're
yep,
not really capable of being in a team environment at a base level of saying it's okay, come here and hold down my dog while there's bullets flying through the front, or and that's an extreme way of saying it, but if you're not willing to
yeah,
ride for me, I can't ride for you, man.
yeah,
And
exactly.
it's tough. It's tough because civilians don't think like that. They oh, my friends are always going to be here. They take a lot of things for granted. Once you go to the military, all
Your
that shit
friends
is
are
out the
not
window,
gonna.
dude. I would,
Yeah,
man, back when I was deployed, I'll tell you what, I would snap off one of my, like every single one of my fingers. I'd break them all with my left hand, and then have you break my left hand fingers one by one, just to be in my wife's presence for 10 minutes and just to hear her laugh when I was deployed. A lot of people don't have that desperation, that need um, for love or for
yeah,
another human being to be around you. I missed my sister to the point where I would cry, and I still cry every time I hear the song Butterfly Kisses. It's
yeah.
nothing's changing, man. But you're absolutely right. These it's different. Transitioning out of the military is hard, and that's what a big part of my the new ventures I'm working on with this podcast is talking about transitioning out of the military, and it's super tough. And um, God, there's not enough words to say that there's. I'm gonna obviously post resources,
Yeah,
like I always do
yeah.
on the Facebook page when I release this about mental health, and if anything, if you listen to this and you're struggling, just reach out to me, man. I'd love to chat with you. I'm injured out of work, and I got nothing better to do than to talk to people about their struggles. But
Absolutely.
But
Like,
fucking A, dude, I wish I could put in words how important it is what you said. It's difficult to transition. And I thank you for taking the time out of your day and sharing it with me. I know you have a child. It's great for a father to be there present in their child's life. We waited till your kid was asleep for this, and I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day all the way from a different time zone. You
yeah,
time travel
absolutely,
to be
man.
here. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, brother. No worries, man. If anything, I like you said, like I just want to be able to share my experiences best way I can. If there's somebody who is going through something similar, hey, I'm still here. It's possible. There's always a light. You just gotta be able to ultimately still do the work for it. Just there's always hope. Just keep for the hope.
Yeah, and don't ever give up. Well, I do appreciate you joining me together. To come together and make this happen, man. All right, much love, buddy.
All right, brother. You have a go, on, man.
We spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about mental health, but I want to talk about physical health for a second. There's nothing more uplifting and confidence boosting than looking in the mirror and seeing exactly what you want looking back at you. The person I trust to make sure that's happening, no matter if I'm going through an injury or not, is Brian Click. He's my friend, mentor, coach, and now one of our sponsors here at Off the Deep End. Head over to the link in the description and check out why I choose him. All over his Instagram and his website, you will be seeing the different clients who've worked with him in the past, whether it's bodybuilding or just maintaining a healthy lifestyle or working towards a certain goal in a sport and making sure you make weight. Brian is a guy I trust for every single different category and facet that fitness surrounds. There's nothing more important than liking what you see in the mirror and liking how you feel when you wake up every day. So head over to his website and get this process started.